So we have a lot to talk about today in the Spider-Verse. We've got tons of Spider-Man news coming out. I'm joined by Henry, a huge Spider-Man fan. Henry, thanks for joining us.
Hi.
There's a lot to parse through today. I think the big one we need to get out of the way is the Venom movie. Now, we knew the Venom movie was coming, but a big announcement came out. It's probably going to be R-rated, and it might start Sony's own Marvel Cinematic Universe, or a Spider-Verse, that's not connected to the MCU. Like, what is the positive or probably negative about that?
Well, I mean, the positives are that, Venom is a 90s violent supervillain who, especially in his solo books, were very violent and dark and horror filled. So they would definitely fit for an R-rated horror film, just kind of like how R rating only really works for Deadpool or for a true Wolverine film. So that makes sense. But to me, the Venom character is so tied to Spider-Man that they can't not do it without him, or else it's just a completely different character. Venom was created to be the ultimate Spider-Man nemesis. He is Spider-Man, except a horrifying version of him. And so if you just separate it from that, and it's just like a horror film where a beast called Venom that kind of looks like Spider-Man is chasing people, it's just not as special,
After the way he was kind of treated in Spider-Man 3, I think people do kind of want a harder, darker kind of vigilante R-rated take on the character. But even bigger news than that, like we were saying, this may not tie into the MCU. Is this kind of Sony's way of creating their own Spider-Verse and holding on to those characters? Is there a good thing to come out of that?
Well, it is an interesting scenario that, the Spider-Verse, they were planning that Spider-Verse of films back when Andrew Garfield was part of it. They were going to do a Sinister Six movie. They were going to do a Black Cat film on its own. It's been something Sony has been wanting to do for the longest time. I just figured that Homecoming would, upset all that, and they just go like, fine, we'll just make him in the MCU. But working with Marvel and getting all those permissions is a lot of big deals that would complicate making smaller films than Homecoming, like a Venom film or a Black Cat film. So they'd have more freedom if they just created their own universe of Spider-Man related characters and just took out Spider-Man if they're not allowed to use him without Marvel's permission. But it just really complicates things a lot and creates this kind of like Spider-Man shaped hole in a universe that's made of his characters.
Yeah, and I know there's talk about a Black Cat movie and a Silver Sable movie. If it's going to be its own kind of separate thing, what do we want to see out of these kinds of movies?
Well, I think horror and R rating is the right way to go with Venom. Like, he's a character whose old catch line was, "I'll eat your brains." So
Yeah.
he fits for horror. Then with Black Cat and Silver Sable, there haven't been very many female-led superhero films, so I would be interested to see what they could do with that. I think it would be more along the lines of what people would have imagined from a Black Widow film. That, like, Silver Sable is Black Widow adjacent, and Black Cat is kind of a Catwoman-ish thief. So both of them could work in a film just together, of them operating maybe against each other and then teaming up. Though in both those cases, I think of the Halle Berry film Catwoman, which was a Batman spinoff made without any relationship to Batman, and that was just not the right way to go with that, as we saw then. But it also just wasn't a good movie.
All I
So
hope for is that we get the Hypno Hustler movie that everybody's been excited about. We'll definitely keep our ears open and eyes open for all of this, because the Spider-Verse looks like it's only going to get bigger. Henry, thank you so much for joining us.
no problem.